In the dead silence before dawn, the ground itself betrayed humanity. On November 1st, 1755, the city of Lisbon trembled, as if the earth had decided to shrug off its oldest inhabitants. Churches filled with worshippers celebrating All Saints' Day collapsed in seconds, crushing thousands beneath falling stone and timber. What followed was not merely destruction, but the unraveling of an entire empire's confidence. This was not the first time the planet had rewritten history with seismic fury, nor would it be the last. Across centuries, earthquakes have shattered not just buildings and bodies, but the very foundations of nations, forcing societies to confront their fragility in the face of forces far beyond human control. The ground moves, and empires fall. For centuries before that fateful morning in Lisbon, Portugal had risen as a global power through daring maritime exploration and ruthless colonial expansion. The Tagus River carried ships heavy with gold, spices, and slaves from distant continents, feeding a wealthy, devout society that believed divine favor protected its ambitions. In the narrow streets of Lisbon's Baixa district, merchants haggled over exotic goods, while priests rang bells calling the faithful to prayer. Fishermen mended nets along the riverbanks, as noble families strolled in elegant squares, their lives built upon the assumption that the world was stable and ordered. Daily routines moved with the certainty of tides and seasons. No one questioned the solid ground beneath their feet. The kingdom stood at the height of its influence, its architecture reaching toward heaven in grand cathedrals and monasteries that symbolized permanence. Yet beneath this surface of prosperity, the planet's restless plates had been shifting for millennia, storing energy that would soon release with terrifying consequences. The warning signs were there, invisible to most. Ancient Roman records spoke of tremors in the region, and local folklore carried faint memories of previous shakes. In the years leading to 1755, small quakes had rattled the Iberian Peninsula, yet they were dismissed as minor disturbances in a world governed by God's will. Scientists and philosophers of the Enlightenment era were only beginning to question natural phenomena, but religious authorities still interpreted earthquakes as divine punishment rather than geological events. The Portuguese court, focused on maintaining its vast overseas empire, paid little attention to these subtle signals from the earth. Construction continued with heavy stone and ornate designs ill-suited for seismic activity. Trade flourished without pause. The confidence of a Catholic empire at the center of the world left no room for doubt about the stability of its foundations. By the time the plates locked and pressure mounted deep underground, the society above had already committed itself to structures and beliefs that could not withstand what was coming. As autumn turned to winter in 1755, political pressures mounted both within Portugal and across its empire. The Marquis of Pombal, a rising authoritarian reformer, pushed aggressive centralization against conservative nobility and clergy. Economic strains from colonial maintenance and competition with Britain and Spain created underlying instability. Religious fervor reached new heights with public displays of devotion. Meanwhile, the tectonic plates beneath the Atlantic continued their slow, merciless dance. On that All Saints morning, the first massive shock struck at 9:40 a.m., lasting nearly 6 minutes. Stone buildings swayed and crumbled. The ground opened in fissures. Survivors fled to the open squares, only to watch the sea withdraw dramatically before returning as a towering tsunami that swept away entire neighborhoods. Fires ignited by overturned candles and cooking fires consumed what the quake had spared. The triple disaster of shaking earth, flooding waters, and raging flames turned one of Europe's wealthiest cities into a smoking ruin within hours. The moment the system began to fail revealed the terrifying speed with which order dissolves. Panic spread faster than the fires. Looters moved through the debris, while priests performed desperate last rites. The royal family had survived by chance outside the city, but the government apparatus was shattered. Corpses piled in the streets created unbearable stench as disease threatened. The Marquis of Pombal seized control with ruthless efficiency, organizing the clearance of bodies by throwing them into the sea and imposing martial law to prevent chaos. Yet the psychological wound ran deeper than any physical destruction. A prosperous, God-fearing nation suddenly confronted the possibility that divine protection was an illusion. Enlightenment thinkers like Voltaire used the disaster to question religious explanations of suffering, accelerating philosophical shifts across Europe. The earthquake did not merely destroy Lisbon, it fractured the intellectual and spiritual foundations that had supported the old order. In the aftermath, human consequences unfolded with devastating clarity. Tens of thousands lay dead, estimates reaching as high as 60,000 in Lisbon alone. Survivors wandered through streets lined with rubble, searching for lost family members amid the acrid smell of smoke and decay. The once vibrant port fell silent as trade routes were disrupted. Orphans filled makeshift camps, while soldiers patrolled to prevent further disorder. The psychological trauma lingered for generations, with many questioning their faith or embracing new rationalist ideas. Portugal's economy suffered severe blows as reconstruction consumed vast resources. The disaster exposed deep social inequalities, as the poor suffered most, while the elite attempted to maintain appearances. Fear of aftershocks kept people in open spaces for months, disrupting normal life and economic activity. The ground had stopped moving, but the nation's confidence never fully recovered. The long-term historical impact of the 1755 Lisbon earthquake extended far beyond Portugal's borders. The disaster accelerated the rise of modern seismology and urban planning. Pombal's reconstruction created one of Europe's first grid-planned cities designed with earthquake resistance in mind, featuring wide streets and lower, more flexible buildings. Philosophically, it became a pivotal moment in the Enlightenment, challenging traditional religious interpretations of natural disasters and encouraging scientific inquiry into Earth's processes. Portugal's global influence, already waning, declined further as resources were redirected inward. The event contributed to shifting power dynamics in Europe, strengthening Britain's position while weakening Iberian empires. It demonstrated how a single geological event could alter the trajectory of nations and reshape intellectual history. Other cultures took note, incorporating lessons about resilience and the limits of human control. Yet Lisbon was only one chapter in a longer story of seismic destruction. Half a world away and centuries earlier, the 1556 Shanxi earthquake in China killed an estimated 830,000 people, making it the deadliest earthquake in recorded history. The Ming dynasty faced immense challenges as entire regions were devastated, agricultural systems collapsed, and social order frayed. In more recent times, the 2010 Haiti earthquake exposed the vulnerabilities of a nation already struggling with poverty and political instability, killing over 200,000 and setting back development by decades. Each event followed similar patterns. Prosperous or struggling societies, built upon assumptions of stability, suddenly confronted by the planet's indifference. The 1906 San Francisco earthquake and resulting fires destroyed much of the city, but also spurred innovations in building codes and urban governance that influenced modern America. These disasters repeatedly demonstrate how earthquakes act as accelerators of existing tensions and reveal the true strength of social and political structures. The ground beneath our feet has never been as solid as we believe. Throughout human civilization, moments when the earth moves have forced societies to rebuild not only their cities, but their understanding of power, faith, and resilience. Some nations emerged stronger, implementing better planning and scientific approaches. Others descended into prolonged decline as the physical destruction compounded existing weaknesses. The silence after the shaking ends is often the most haunting sound of all, a moment when survivors realize that the world they knew has been permanently altered. Nations rise and fall for many reasons, but sometimes the decisive blow comes not from armies or economic forces, but from the sudden, violent movement of tectonic plates deep below the surface. In the end, these earthquakes that reshape nations serve as humbling reminders of humanity's place in a dynamic planet. The ruins left behind whisper stories of ambition, faith, and eventual collapse. We continue building towering cities and complex societies upon ground that can betray us without warning. The lessons remain relevant. Early warning systems, resilient infrastructure, and flexible social structures may mitigate the worst effects. Yet the fundamental truth persists. The Earth moves according to its own ancient rhythms, indifferent to human plans and dreams. And when it does, entire ways of life can vanish in moments, leaving future generations to wonder how such seemingly permanent civilizations could disappear so completely. The next great tremor waits somewhere in the silence, patient and inevitable.